Nimble Thor puts out a video every single year. I'm talking about one time per year as per late, and he shares with us all of the games that he's played and puts them on a tier list. I always value this video, and today I want to share with you his favorite games and chime in on if I think they're actually worthy of the ratings that he gave them. Now, let's keep in mind, he does really like to go ahead with these indie games. He's a big indie game fan, which I'm not as much as him. Let's dive in and see if we agree.
Waven, which is a great turn-based tactical RPG MMO made by the team behind the old Dofus Touch game. I really like the solo and co-op PvE content in this game, and there is a lot to explore, including completely fair PvP matches.
I like PvP matches, I like completely fair, and I like strategy. So, he's gonna give this one
an easy A tier game.
An A rating, which sounds fair.
Torment also released this year, and this is a fantastic bullet heaven roguelike game with a retro Diablo-inspired.
Now, this one again looks very much like Vampire Survivor style game. I love these types of games. This one I have not particularly played myself.
Art style and lots of unique bosses. The core gameplay is a lot like Vampire Survivors and Potato in that you attempt to stay alive and gradually upgrade your character with random abilities while thousands of creatures rush at you. But the game then also has meta progression through 500 quests and permanent upgrades.
There's something so satisfying about these types of games. I play Diablo Immortal, and there's a game mode that comes every few weeks. It's called Survivor's Bane. It is it's a Survivor IO style gameplay mode, and it's amazing. This would probably be something very high on my tier list.
If you like this reverse bullet hell genre as much as I do, this is an easy S tier game. Another game that looked really cool was Devil May Cry Peak of Combat.
All right, this one I've played. I actually played it over on my ARPG channel. Great game. Lots of awesome combat. You could swap between different characters. I've highlighted it here on the channel quite a few times. Problem is, it's got pay to win.
Which is a 3D action-adventure RPG with super fast-paced combat and even online co-op. The combat is actually pretty good, but the co-op is a bit so-so, and the PvP is clearly pay to win. So while the art style is very polished, heavy grinding and bad monetization ultimately ruined what could have been a great game, so I'll place this in this C tier row.
So does a game being pay to win drop it that drastically? If there's a game that you think is an S tier game, but then it introduces pay to win mechanics, does it instantly drop to a C or a D tier to you? For me, I try and just stay away from those pay to win mechanics. Just curious about what you guys think.
The next game is Auto Pirates, and if you love auto battlers like Super Auto Pets, you might really love this one. The gameplay of gradually expanding your pirate crew in between the automatic fights is great fun, and there's a decent level of strategy despite all the randomness. There's also no pay to win, but I ultimately just didn't feel like continue playing the game, so personally I'll have to place it in the B tier row.
That one I've never played, so I gotta trust them on that.
We also finally got Warzone this year, which is the mobile version of the popular Battle Royale game set in the Call of Duty franchise.
And I'll tell you here, Warzone, cool game. I still think Call of Duty Mobile is the #1 shooter on mobile, which is 5 years old at this point in time. So I think that Warzone does not even come close to Call of Duty Mobile.
The gameplay is great overall, the controls are solid, and the fast-paced matches with up to 120 players take 10 to 20 minutes, which is just perfect for mobile. But you need a very powerful phone to play this game on, and even then the graphics aren't amazing. So I'm gonna place it here in the A tier row. And
I'm actually surprised he gave it such a high score, an A tier.
Listen, I love a good action platformer, but Metal Slug Awakening was honestly just a disappointment.
I liked Metal Slug Awakening. I thought that it kind of brought back the nostalgia from playing this game in the arcades 20 years ago. I actually was a fan of this one.
I really wanted this to be a great classic Metal Slug experience, but despite the many game modes, the online co-op and the PvP, the energy system and pay-to-win gacha just destroyed it. The maps also feel way too cramped, the art style is inconsistent, and the shot controls aren't great. So
I can agree with him on the pay-to-win and the energy system. The rest of the stuff didn't bother me.
This is an E tier game. A game that didn't let me down though was Warbit, which is an absolutely amazing turn-based strategy game, not too unlike the classic Advanced War game. The goal is to dominate a small map by deploying and moving around units, and the game features both offline and online modes, including user-created levels and asynchronous PvP matches. It is easily the best strategy game of the year, so this is definitely an S tier game.
Another one that I have not yet tried, so again, we're gonna trust him on that. I have not tried all 47 or 43, 47 of these games. 48 of these games. I haven't tried them all, but I've tried almost all of them.
In June this year, the open-world fantasy MMORPG Tarisland released, and it's a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. I'm glad there's no auto-combat, and the player-driven economy is pretty neat, but the character movement speed is dreadfully slow, and grinding normal monsters for XP gives almost no reward. But ultimately, since this is one of the only AAA MMORPGs of the year so far, I'll place it.
Before he places it, I thought this one was pretty good. This was something that I thought, although it was an MMO, it could kind of compete with Diablo Immortal. I thought it was probably between an A and a B tier. Let's see where he places.
Here in the B tier row.
There you
But
go.
if you're like me and you actually prefer old school MMORPGs,
Not me.
Spire is much more interesting. The game is almost entirely PvE focused with quests, loot and bosses, but they also recently added a party system to the game and player-to-player trading. It is still missing some features you'd expect in most MMORPGs, but I had a really hard time putting it down, and there's no pay to win in the game, so I'll place this securely in the A tier row as one of the best casual MMORPGs.
All right, again, this is kind of based off of your likes, right? I don't like those old school style games, so that's not something that I would particularly enjoy. Yet I get why he does and why many of you may as well.
The developers of Soul Knight also released a new game this year called Meow Hunter.
Meow
it's a
Hunter.
2D action platformer RPG where we jump and dash around small maps while destroying all the enemies and gradually growing stronger.
Soul Knight was a huge success. I would anticipate this was really good as well.
But unfortunately, the controls are just rather finicky and there's no controller support. The world is also pretty busy and I honestly just expected more out of the game, so I'll land this in the C tier row.
Just put my foot in my mouth right there. He didn't care for it. Okay. That's absolutely fine. It's another one that I hadn't tried.
But thankfully, we also got Jumbotron Reboot this year, which is an actual great 2D action platformer with good controls and fun gameplay. The game is incredibly atmospheric and each level continues directly into the next, making it feel almost like one consistent universe. Oh, and you can pay to remove the ads, so I really like this one. It's A tier for me, and the community on Mean Review also loved it.
Now, I don't love pay to remove ads. I don't like games with ads in them. With that being said, I'd probably prefer it than a pay-to-win game, so I'm on the fence about that.
Arcade kart racer Disney Speedstorm also released this
is a
year,
good one.
and the level design and graphics in this game are just amazing. Gameloft somehow found a way to build the best kart racer gameplay experience on mobile, but then in true Gameloft style, they also decided to add lots of monetization systems to it.
Of course.
So do I give it A for its gameplay or D for its monetization systems? I think I'm gonna land this one in the B tier row as sort of a compromise.
I'll tell you what, though. There has to be ways for these developers to monetize the games. I have no problem with heavy monetization as long as it's in a way that doesn't impact gameplay. So give me more storage space, give me more slots for characters, give me more character cosmetics, and I don't mind that kind of monetization. I do mind when if you pay more money, you have better chances of winning. That's the pay to win. So I personally would not lower a game because of monetization unless if it included heavy pay to win.
But now for the joke of the show.
Speaking of heavy pay to win,
Age of Empires Mobile. This could have been, or actually it should have been, the best RTS game on mobile, but instead what we got was just an extremely pay-to-win base builder like Rise of Kingdoms.
This game, everyone was waiting for. Everybody loved this title, Age of Empires from PC, and all of the Rise of Kingdoms, Call of Dragons players were like, yes, this is going to be it, and really what it was just another Rise of Kingdoms, just themed to Age of Empires. It was actually quite a disappointment.
Gameplay is boring, combat isn't much better, and there's almost no strategy involved, which is kinda ironic in a strategy game. This is definitely F tier.
Oh my
Light 2,
God.
on the other hand, is
I can't believe he went as low as F tier. Woo!
just fantastic. It's a fun arcade twin-stick shooter with asteroids-inspired gameplay split across super challenging single-player levels and co-op multiplayer. It also has community-created levels and even the option to create custom randomized ones. I just love this game and it's definitely worth its $6 price, so this is S tier in my
I don't love the graphics. It's clearly made that way on purpose. With that said, I probably wouldn't have given it an S tier, but it probably did turn out to be an overall solid experience.
book. Genshin Impact developer MiHoYo also released a fast-paced action game this year called Zenless Zone Zero.
Love this game, by the way. This would be an A or an S tier for me.
The gameplay is a bit of a strange mix of really upbeat combat and then slow visual novel storytelling, but the art just looks fantastic. The animations too, by the way. I mean, just look at this. Ultimately though, it just never truly hooked me, so I'll place it as a B tier game, although for others it might be A or even S tier. Now one of the most nostalgic games I played this year has got to be Daddish 3D, which
Daddish the Radish
is a challenging adventure platformer full of environmental puzzles and silly humor that is clearly inspired by old Nintendo 64 games. The gameplay is just great, so this is easily an A tier game in my opinion.
I agree.
And especially because the ads can be removed via a single in-app purchase. In May this year, we also got a new game in the Earn to Die series, but I think it's safe to say that it wasn't exactly what most had expected, because the gameplay in Earn to Die Rogue is nothing like in the old games, and instead it's a reverse bullet hell roguelike platformer set in the same universe. It's actually not a horrible game, but the monetization isn't fantastic either, so I'll land this in the C tier row. One of the most unique games released this year has got to be Roomies, which is a fun minimalistic racing game where we tap and swipe at just the right times to help our automatically driving race car finish first, which makes the gameplay feel almost like a rhythm game. The game is also completely free with no ads and no in-app purchases, so it's just a must try if you like unique races.
Tell you, I don't like games like that. It is quite interesting though that it's free to play with no in-app purchases, so literally no one is making money from that, unless if there's small ads inside of the game.
This is A tier for sure, and it also has great ratings on Min Review. And let's not forget about Wuthering Waves, or as I like to call it, the We've Got Genshin at Home game.
This one here is another really good game. I'd give it probably an A tier.
This massive 3D adventure RPG honestly isn't bad, but it's just a lot less polished than Genshin is, and it needs a ton of optimizations. So I think it does show promise, but for now I'll have to land it in the B tier row.
I don't think it's fair to compare it to Genshin though. I mean, I guess you can compare it to Genshin, but nothing is going to be as good as Genshin. Genshin is so good. So to drop it down to a B tier, maybe he didn't enjoy it. I can completely respect that. For me, that was definitely an A tier game though.
Let me know in the comments if you think I'm completely off here. Ubisoft actually also released a game this year. Did you know that? It's called Invincible Guarding the Globe, and it's sort of a strange, almost idle, hero-based gacha RPG with characters from the Invincible comic books. If you didn't already know about it, don't really worry though, because the gameplay is just boring, and there's a lot of pay to win and several pay or grind walls. I think this would have done better as just a proper straight-up idle game, but it isn't, so this is E tier. One of the actual best games of the year though is easily After Image, which is a beautiful Metroidvania action platformer ported over from PC. It features a massive world, lots of bizarre enemies, loot to collect, and just good old fun gameplay. It's one of the best games in the genre on mobile, so it's well worth its $6 price. This is what an S tier game looks like.
Do you pay $6 for an S tier game? Let me know.
If a free-to-play first-person dungeon crawler is more up your alley though, I suggest checking out Wizardry Variants Daphne. Daphne? I enjoyed this game a lot more than I thought I would, so while there are definitely super expensive in-app purchases to unlock heroes and gear faster, I think it does deserve an A tier spot. But a fair and firm warning here, do not engage with the monetization systems. It's just not worth it in this game. Just stay free to play, and I think you'll enjoy it. Now, we also got a couple of shooters this year, and the most unique of those is Axren Heroes.
I love top-down shooters. There's something minimalistic about this type of a shooter that just pulls me in. I typically enjoy these.
Which is a top-down 3 vs 3 shooter with small maps and quick matches. A bit like in Tacticool or Milk Coco. I really wanted to like this game, but it still needs more polish and more content. Lots more content. So I have to land it in D tier for now, but if it continues getting updated, it could easily move to B or maybe even A tier later.
Tough
I also played a few new Bullet Heaven roguelikes this year, 2 of which I'll score as B tier. The first of these is Nerd Survivors, which lets you equip a ton of over-the-top weapons just like in Brotato. It's a hardcore indie game and I like its wacky style, so I think it's worth its $3 price. The other game is Ocean Keeper Dome Survival, where we not only use an underwater mech to blast monsters, but also dig for resources in ocean floor cave systems. The gameplay is actually great fun and pretty unique, but the play sessions can easily take over 45 minutes, and I'd love to see some more enemy variation.
That is a long play session for mobile specifically.
Free to try though, so there's no real risk, and then a $3 in-app purchase unlocks the full game. And yeah, I think both games land in the B tier row. Now, one of the biggest games of the year has got to be Pokemon TCG Pocket. I
was actually thinking of doing a stream for this game. This is one that I haven't yet spent too much time playing, but it's extremely popular. Let me know if you'd like to see me dive more into Pokemon TCG Pocket. Also, I would probably give this one between an A or an S tier.
Still play this game every single day, at the very least to open a few packs of cards, and sometimes to play a single player or online match as well. I know this is a very debated game, but I think the free-to-play experience is actually great so far, and it's just one big nostalgia trip for me, so I can't really place this one lower than A tier. Supercell also launched Squad Busters.
I played the heck out of this game as well. They actually changed what Squad Busters was like when it came out. The gameplay that you're watching him play right now is different than how it is now. Things have slowed down. It's essentially a completely different play style. I do think that Squad Busters was a little bit of a miss from Supercell. By the way, if you play any Supercell games, throw code ECHO into the game when you make any purchases. It directly supports my channel. I've been a Supercell creator for 9 years. But this was one of their bigger misses that they've had actually go global. I still do think it's fun, but it's nothing like a Clash Royale, a Brawl Stars, or Clash Clans, or even a MOCO, which I cover a lot on this channel.
And I really enjoyed its 10-player free-for-all action gameplay, and playing it co-op with my wife was actually one of the highlights of my year, to be honest. But the fun eventually fades as the monetization really starts to kick in, so while the gameplay itself is A tier, I think I'll have to land this game here in the C tier row.
I actually think it's a little too simplistic, and gameplay is always the same. Rush, get gems, upgrade, kill people, bust them, and all of that. I could go and do Clash Royale matches forever. Same thing with Brawl Stars, but it was just a little too much the same all the time.
The same can't be said for Balatro though. Yes, it's here, we're gonna talk about it. I know this is many people's favorite game of the year, and as someone who loves deck building roguelikes, I can't get enough of this highly addictive poker-themed gameplay either. So for me, this is an easy S-tier game. But something a bit more relaxing that also released this year is the casual and semi-idle farming simulator Island Times, where you harvest crops, mine ores, go fishing, and so on. There's no combat at all, and the game is instead purely focused on incremental progression and then hiring helpers to help automate things. It is a bit bare bones at the moment though, so I'll place it in the B tier.
I'm not big into farming.
Now after a few very dry years, we also got 2 new surprisingly good hero shooters this year. The first is Bloodstrike, which is a hero-based battle.
Great game. Great shooter if you're looking for something outside of PUBG Mobile or of Call of Duty Mobile.
Royale shooter with fast-paced matches and, importantly, controller support. There's no pay to win and the gameplay is really fun, so this is an A-tier game for me.
Yep.
The other game is Star Wars Hunters, which is a 4 versus 4 hero shooter that...
I thought this one was really good as well, but I actually don't think it's doing so well. I think that the game's actually kind of failing, although I think it's a really solid one.
Basically plays like an Overwatch clone set in the Star Wars universe. I really thought this game would be super bad and full of pay to win, but I actually think it's one of the best hero shooters on mobile, and while you can pay to unlock heroes faster, they all feel pretty balanced so far. So I'll place this one in the A tier row as well, for now at least, but
I agree.
Of course the monetization might change in the future. The gacha RPG Solo Leveling Arise, on the other hand...
So this was another one that was supposed to be a big action RPG that would kind of take over the whole Diablo Immortal being the best action RPG. This one does have some autoplay, definitely some pay to win. Really curious to see how he's going to score this one. I would say it's probably like around a C or B tier personally.
Did actually live up to my expectations in the sense that it's as boring as I expected. Ooh. And can we just talk about those loading screens? They are everywhere in this game, and it ultimately just ruined it for me. The monetization is also bad though, so yeah, this is D tier.
Wow, he went even lower than I went.
One of the most unique games I tried this year is Born Again Online, which is a fun roguelike action MMORPG where you enter co-op dungeons to defeat bosses and monsters alongside 50 other players. The twist though is that there's permadeath, so if you die, you're out. But the gameplay is well balanced and I had a blast playing this one.
Permadeath, this thing is a insane game mode where if you die...
So it definitely deserves an A-tier spot. And talking about MMORPGs, Idle MMO also released earlier this year, which is an incremental idle RPG with social features such as raids and overall progression inspired by games like RuneScape. So it's basically an alternative to games like Korra, Idle Clans, or Melvor Idle, but it's just not as polished as those other games yet, so I will land it in B tier.
Fair enough.
For now. The next game is the indie darling Abalon, which is a turn-based deck builder RPG with roguelike elements. The gameplay is super fun and full of random encounters and events, and it's entirely free as well, with just a few in-app purchases for DLC packs. So if you like deck building...
It's a little strange looking. The top-down look, it looks like we're looking at bobbleheads.
And RPGs, this is an easy A tier. A new cookie run game also released in 2024 called Tower of Adventures, and this time it's a top-down action RPG with fun, but also rather grindy friendly gameplay, including co-op multiplayer. The best way I can summarize this game is that the gameplay is actually good fun, but the gacha rates aren't exactly amazing, and the game quickly gets a bit repetitive and pay-to-win heavy. So I can't really move this past the C tier row. A game that really blew me away though is X Asterisk, which is a sci-fi RPG adventure game with a unique blend of real-time and turn-based combat. And while it looks like a pay-to-win gacha game, there's none of that at all in this $10 premium game, and it even has offline play and cloud save. I think many of you are gonna love this one, and it's S tier for me. Now, a great game that got ported from PC to mobile this year is the atmospheric rally racing game Art of Rally. It's a great game overall, but what truly makes it stand out is that it has everything from hardcore time attack modes to completely laid-back free roam modes where you just explore an open world to collect items.
But what you do miss with this game is that beautiful racing style game that a lot of people want. It looks like a game from 20 years back. That's part of the atmospheric element of it. Many people like that, others don't. It is a really good game though. I just wish it had that look.
To me, it's an easy A tier game, well worth its $5 price tag. The OG Tower Defense series Bloons also released a game this year called Bloons Cardstorm, which has you build a deck of balloons and monkeys and then deploy them during 1v1 PvE and PvP fights to defeat the opponent. It's basically a mix of a collectible card game and tower defense. It's a decent game, but it didn't really wow me, so I will land it in B tier. One of only 2 Netflix games I've included this year is Katana Zero, but I honestly felt I just had to include this one because it's easily one of the best action platformers I've played this year. It has instant death combat, awesome slow-mo effects, and a story told through cinematic cutscenes after each level. And it's free if you've got Netflix, of course. So
now, you know I don't care about the story, but it is cool that it's there. Also, pixelized gameplay is a meh for me, but it definitely has a Ninja Gaiden feel. It's a good game.
To me, this is an A tier experience. While the real Pal World hasn't released on mobile, we did actually get several copycats this year, one of which is called Anakin Survival. The gameplay in this game, as you might have guessed, has you collect resources, catch monsters, and slowly expand and automate your home base. But our inventory is super limited unless we pay, and monster merging requires premium currency. Surprise! So to me, this was a D tier experience, and I'm still waiting for the real Pal World. Now, I mentioned earlier that Halls of Torment was my favorite bullet heaven roguelike of the year, but my second favorite is Twilight Survivors. I especially love this game for its 3D art style.
Also, great graphics. I love how this game looks.
The over-the-top weapons, and the fact that it's free to play with a $5 in-app purchase to unlock all the heroes. This is definitely A tier. Google Play's game of the year is AFK Journey, and I of course checked it out as well when it released back in March this year.
Another great one. If you played AFK Arena, I know that you guys probably already tried AFK Journey. It's a really solid game. It takes you on the same type of battles as far as combat goes, but you're exploring a bit more in an open world. I actually like AFK Arena a little bit better, a little bit more simplistic, but this one is fun and gives you an exploration element.
It's basically an extremely polished fantasy game that mixes open world RPG aspects with idle gameplay, and I actually did enjoy it for a bit. The biggest downside though is the monetization, which I think drags it down to B tier, but if you just stay away from the shop, you might be able to have a great time with the game. Hades also finally released on mobile this year via Netflix games. Now, it's unfortunately only out on iOS, but it's easily one of the best roguelike dungeon crawlers ever made, in part thanks to its fantastic art style and the solid gameplay loop. So while not everyone can play it, the game itself is easily S tier.
I wouldn't say that the artwork style is amazing. I think that the color patterns that they use inside of it are great. Really, they pop. A lot of saturation, but it's okay.
One of the very best. The fantasy roguelike auto battler Veil 4 is basically the opposite of that, since it's only out on PC and Android for now, but it's a fantastic game if you like RPGs and auto battle gameplay like in Super Autopets.
This one seems like it's missing some polish though.
The game features both PvE and pseudo PvP, and while it does take a bit to fully understand, I think it's one of the most interesting auto battlers. Unlocking the full version of the game costs $10 and I'm gonna place it in the A tier row. And then just a few weeks ago, we got the idle RPG Go Go Muffin, which is basically an incredibly polished spiritual successor to Ulala Idle Adventure, which I covered all the way back in 2019. The thing that truly makes the game unique though is that everything from the main journey to the dungeons and raids are all played in co-op. There is a lot to this game and everything is very nicely paced, so I liked it much more than I thought I would, and I'm gonna place it, and I can't believe I'm saying this, in the A tier row despite the gacha mechanics. And then, after 9 years of waiting, the 5 vs 5 MOBA Honor of Kings, which is the best earning mobile game of all time, by the way, also got its release this year. The game plays like something in between casual MOBAs such as Pokemon Unite and the more hardcore ones like Vainglory, rest in peace by the way, but it's super late to the game and it doesn't really introduce anything new, so I think it deserves a B tier spot.
Alright, so this is a list of 48, but I'm going to add 2 more that he did not touch on that I think are really important and worthy of chatting about. One of the games that I think is an A to S tier game is one that I cover here all the time on the channel. It's called Moko. This is the newest Supercell game. It's an action RPG and it's a fantasy style game with 0 pay to win whatsoever. This is going to be, in my opinion, one of Supercell's biggest new games, outdoing Squad Busters, which, as you saw, got a medium score at best. This is going to be an S tier for me personally. And at number 50, I want to take a look at Abyss of Dungeons. This is an amazing game as well. The only issue I have with this title is the combat is quite slow. I actually participated in a tournament for this game. It was sponsored by the developers. This video is not. And I really did enjoy the gameplay. Something very different in the dungeon crawling ARPG realm that's never been done before. I think this one's a must play and probably sits at an A tier. But there are tons of other games that are worthy of our time, so make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all of the best new mobile games that you should be playing right now.